Welcome, everybody, to episode number 83 of Reezy Talks. And we went live on time exactly at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So let it be noted for the record, for the critics, we were on time today. And today's show is going to be amazing and on point, just like any other show. But I'm excited to announce today's guest, and that is Denali, aka El Ducho Thrift, on Instagram and YouTube. What is up, Denali?
Hey, how's it going, Reezy? Thank you so much for having me on the show today. I'm excited.
Dude, I am super excited. I was thinking about how this even happened, really, because I met you in Seattle at a meetup, but it's not like, we have had a ton of interaction besides, just like the casual liking or commenting or whatever.
Right.
And I think maybe Nicole State suggested that I should interview you.
She did, yeah, and I appreciate that. There's another time that we actually met too. I don't expect you to remember this, but maybe you'll remember once I tell you. So it was, I think it was March of last year. There was an eBay seller meetup on eBay's campus. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and then myself, a couple of my friends, and you ended up joining, went out to sushi afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we sat at opposite ends of the table, and I don't think we really interacted that much, but,
You certainly didn't tell me that you were El Ducho Thrift.
Oh, well, I don't know that I was anything to say, so.
No, I know. I just think it's funny. Yeah, no, it's making sense now because there was a couple did Nicole go with us too, or no? It was just I went with you guys.
Yeah, she was there for the event, but didn't come with us. I think she was tired or had a long day or something. So
or she was flying out early or something.
Yes,
and because I remember I was in the mix with everybody, and then all of a sudden I was like, wait, where is everyone? And then I was like, Corey went, right?
Yeah, Corey was there. Yes.
Like, cool, let's go. I kind of know Corey and
right.
had wanted to get to know him. So, but then you're right, that you sat on the opposite end, and then I spent most of the night talking with Corey.
Yep.
And Kayla? Kayla. And and someone else too. What is her name? She lives up there. All you guys. It was the Pacific Northwest crew.
Oh, yeah. My friend Ty was there as well.
Ty, yeah.
Yep.
She lives on an island, right?
Yep. She lives on a remote island in the San Juans.
Shout out Ty. What's her Instagram?
Lux Huntress. LuxHuntress.
Shout out Lux Huntress, and actually just shout out the entire Instagram reselling community. You know what I mean? Like, I
so
feel
many
like
people.
Because YouTube is cool, right? Like, we can go on YouTube and we can make videos and we can help people, and we can make money doing that too or whatever. But it's kind of like a one-way street. Like, you might ask a question. There's like a little bit of talking that goes on in the comments,
right?
But not really. You know what I mean? And then whereas Instagram is like boom, boom, bang, bang. Like, we're hanging out with each other. We're seeing each other's kids. We're talking about non-work stuff. We're meeting up. We're doing reseller meetups, and on the side, a couple of us went to Disneyland together, or just
it's interesting how it's definitely two different communities, and I'm new to the YouTube community. I just joined this past October, but it's another animal. It's just different. It's a different group of people, and I find that there are people who watch the content on YouTube who aren't on Instagram. And then vice versa. There's people who are on Instagram and say, nah, I don't like watching YouTube videos. So it's really interesting. Right. And it's been nice to get to know people on both sides, both platforms. So
yeah, no, I get that. I see Instagram as like the needed, lack of socialization aspect of YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, as if we just, yes, it's a different app, but we kind of just we do our thing where we can do it. You know what I mean? And Instagram is like, it's cool to see people discover the Instagram community and then get involved with it and then make an account, and, maybe they just started, but they can still help people even though they're, looking for help from other people or whatever.
Do you think that, sorry to get off topic, but do you think that will ever change with YouTube?
The name of the show should be Off Topic. Off Topic. Welcome to Off Topic with Reezy. Off Topic resells.
And maybe the subject line later.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
No, I was just going to say, do you ever see YouTube changing in that way and becoming more I don't know, one-on-one interaction with people?
I don't know, because I don't think necessarily, like, does that let them serve more ads because that's how they make money,
True.
right?
Yeah, true.
And I don't know. It's different, you know?
Yeah.
But it definitely is a lack of social. I think you can send like messages to people on YouTube, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to read them. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
I have 100K subscribers, and it's like if you
Right.
send me a YouTube message, there's no way I'm gonna
Right.
see it. You
You
know what I
haven't
mean? It's
gotten it or you haven't
it's
seen it.
well, it's just like it's a poor utilization of
Right.
the, you know what I mean? But moral of the story is, if you're a reseller, or you just want to like see what the community is like, get on Instagram. Obviously follow myself, just kidding. El Ducho Thrift. Look at, who not only, like, look at people that I follow or people that El Ducho follows, or especially if they have the name, thrift or reselling in their name
Yeah.
or something, or maybe go to, hashtag reselling, hashtag resellers, hashtag thrifting, like, and just look at the top posts and just see
Mhm.
maybe who liked it. Just dig around. That's literally when people ask me, they're like, how'd you get involved with the reselling community, Reezy? And I was like, so I made my account and I started posting good content, but
Yep.
I followed everybody that had the
Yeah.
word thrift in their name, that had the
Yep.
word seller or reseller or reselling or flipping or
Right.
flipper dollar guy thingy man or
Right.
whatever. And
Yeah.
if you follow someone and your shit's good, they go, okay, I'll follow you back. And then it just
Right.
becomes, but now it's like this thing. I don't even know, I don't even see it as an app. You know what I mean? It's just like
Mhm.
a community, now people tag shit, hashtag Reezy resells.
Oh,
And
that's
I
awesome.
like follow
Yeah.
that and I see that and I'm like, oh, cool. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it's
Started
just
your own movement.
yeah, it's a coolest community of people. Cause you know how it is in real life, at least
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but me personally, at least like forever, even though I'm not as active as in reselling right now, is just
Mhm.
like you don't always have people around you. Like my family, like my wife and daughter, they don't give a
Mhm.
shit. You know what I mean? They're just
Right.
like, yeah, whatever, do that, make the money, quit talking about it. Let's do family
Yep.
shit. You know what I mean? And then other people, they either think you're like a scam artist or
Mhm.
ripping people off,
Yep.
or they just like you get all excited and they're like, what do you do? And you're like, you get all excited and you start telling them and then their eyes glaze over.
Yeah.
And then it's just, you know what I mean? It's like, you're like, ah, shit. You know what I mean? They don't really want to know. And so
Or
you
they
have
think
no
it's not
one.
a real job.
Exactly. Get a
Yeah.
real job, grouch, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, so you feel like you have no one to talk to, no one to share your experiences with. And then there
Absolutely.
might be someone local, but then there's that aspect of competition too. And so the
Sure.
internet kind of gives us this freedom of being able to share stuff without actually feeling like, it's our neighbor down the street that we're sharing with who's going to
Yeah.
just go to the Goodwill they know we go to,
Right.
or whatever.
Right. And I feel like for me, even, I've befriended those people in real life, the person down the street. I think that's what's awesome about the Instagram reseller community is I've been able to meet local people, and I do primarily a lot of my sourcing at the Goodwill outlet. So for me, it's plentiful. There's not, the competition is, who's going to find the little piece of gold in the bin first. And arguably there's probably like 30 pieces of gold. So
Right.
I don't know. I don't see too much. I don't view it as a competition, but I know that there is that mindset. I used to shop in the regular thrift stores. I would see my competition there. And
right. When you go to the bins, at least for the most part, I
yeah,
think the competition is, like, let's be real. For the most part, we're not all just finding like $100 bills. It's like 10,
no,
15, $20 items,
right.
but large amounts of them. And it's backbreaking work. And
Yeah,
the competition is with yourself. Can I
hmm,
keep going every day so that my volume of
absolutely.
attendance is higher? Because
Right.
we always know that when your volume attendance is high and you're buying low cost items that have high margins, it's very low risk. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you're really just at war with your own self of
Absolutely.
going to the outlet, which, may be the shittiest place to go to, depending on what your outlet is like. I don't know. Do you have a modern outlet like with tile floor and air conditioning and
Ooh.
like running water and stuff like that?
Oh, well, we've got a few outlets. I'm up here in Seattle, Washington. I'm about 30 minutes north of Seattle. So our one that's in downtown Seattle, is a little rougher around the edges, as to be expected in a more urban area. The one that I'll go to sometimes up north is a little bit nicer. Like you can actually use the bathroom and feel good about your life.
Very important. Very important.
Yeah. And it's a little more, people listen to the rules. People don't jump into the bins until they say go and, but I mean, I think it just varies. All the bins they're different. But yeah, mine aren't the ones up here are not so bad.
Awesome. So, we could chat all day, but we got to be all serious and,
right, yeah.
and show like,
yes,
there's a format, I think. Your name is Denali. That's pretty much all that I know about you. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? Where you come from, what did you do, high school? Do you have a PhD in, fliponomics? Just let us know who Denali is, and then we can go on with some more of your story, where you're at, and then we can actually begin delivering some value. But I always like to frame where the value's coming from.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because who cares, if some guy who can't dunk is trying to tell you how to dunk? It doesn't make any sense, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's tomato, but it's Denali.
No, it's not. It's not tomato. It's Denali, and it rhymes with the valley.
Exactly. There you go. Yeah. So my name's Denali, and I have been a full-time reseller for about I'm coming up on 2 years now, but I like to joke and say I've always had hustler blood. I've been reselling on eBay. I think we're around the same age. I'm 35. I started reselling. Okay, cool. Age. I started reselling on eBay back in 1997. So I don't know when the platform started, but pretty early. We were in 7th grade. So back then, my flips were very juvenile. I was selling boy band memorabilia, which is mildly embarrassing to say, but it's true.
What boy band was in 97? Because when I think of 97, I think, okay, Tupac died in 96.
Yeah.
I think that's also the year that O.J. Simpson trial happened. And that's like how I frame time. But I'm like, what boy band was hot around 97?
Late 97, early 98. So I was like into Spice Girls, Backstreet Boys, NSYNC. So kind of that era.
That was like the jump off for those guys then.
Yes, totally. So I was selling, whatever it was, like, those like teen magazines and all that sort of stuff, back in the day where
I fully get it. Like that is how, and I'm sure you too, like that is how my wife learned how to do her makeup, is from like 17 magazine. Totally.
Yes. And gosh, if we had held on to those magazines today, those things are worth money. But
wow, did not know that. Bolo 17 magazines.
Bolo, yeah.
It makes sense. It makes sense though, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember, because it wasn't targeted as much towards males back then, but females back in that like age demographic, there was a lot of clothing catalogs that used to come, like Delia's and Alloy, all these clothing catalogs. Anyways, those are Bolos. If you ever find, if you
People
can find
collect
those
old clothing catalogs.
Yeah, they sell for like $50 to $100 on eBay. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Double bolo.
But anyways, I digress. So I started selling then. My first big flip was, I think, so I would have been in about 9th grade. My grandma was a collector/hoarder, and she had saved a full set of Kenner Star Wars figurines from whenever they came out in like, what was it, the 70s or 80s? I don't know when.
78, right? Like 78.
Yeah, so she had a full collection in mint condition in their box, and I sold them off in large lots on eBay. I made a few thousand. In hindsight, I wish I'd held on to them because it'd probably be worth more today. But so that's kind of where I started off. And then, I finished high school, went to college. I dabbled with selling books on Amazon when I was in college. So that was in like 2002.
I know a guy that does that.
Yeah, exactly. I figured you know this tale all too well, but I so regret not staying with it. I didn't stay with college, but I wish I would have stayed with the book selling because that was great money. I was selling my textbooks back on Amazon because on Amazon, I was paying out way more than what my campus paid out. They were offering me $1 or less for a book that I'd paid $150 for at the beginning of the quarter. Some of them I hadn't even cracked open. So So yeah, so anyways, I sold books for a while, then, yeah, did we lose your sound? There we go.
No, we're good. I was saying this is what they do to the American students.
They really do.
They give us $1
Yeah.
for $180 organic chemistry textbook.
That I'd never opened at all. Then they wanted, yeah, it was sad. So I sold on Amazon and I think I got $100 back for it. So I was doing that in college, then I left college for a while. I eventually graduated, many, many moons later. Went into the workforce, worked a lot. I was always just flipping items on the side. I used to call it liquidating my assets just to make money. So I was, selling on eBay, sometimes a little bit Amazon, some books when I came across them. And then up until most recently, I was working in human resources. I was a human resources department of one. So I think that's where our topic will tie in nicely tonight in terms of talking about managing and hiring virtual employees. So I did that for about 4 or 5 years until I stumbled upon I don't even remember what it was, but it was a reselling video on YouTube a couple of years ago. And I was like, wait a minute, people are selling used clothing online, and they're making a full-time living. I want to do that. So I just started researching it. And
so real quick, I want to interrupt you because I think that's awesome, because that's like a quality that a lot of us have, us resellers or us entrepreneurial people, or I think just people who are great at a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You see somebody do it and it doesn't take much for you to go, I want to do that, or I could do that too. You know what I mean? Like, just like you said it perfectly. You're like, they're selling used clothing and they're making a living.
Yes.
I want to do that.
Yes.
And so you put your mind forth that, not only is it possible, but you're going to do it. That's just awesome. And we all everybody can learn from that lesson,
Yeah. And being able to take the plunge, because it's not an easy one, right? I mean, I've had a great job, making a great living, but I had always loved reselling online, but I never knew.
Like, characteristically, is that something that you do a lot? Take the plunge. And I mean, it may not always be as serious as, changing your job and your lifestyle and what you do to make a living, but because I'm like that. I'm like, oh, I love Captain Crunch right now. I'm eating only Captain Crunch. I'm going to have 100 boxes of Captain Crunch until I'm so sick of it. I don't want to eat it for 2 years. That's just how I am. I go all in.
Yeah, I do. It is characteristic of me. When I make a decision about something, I might not have the best plan set up in place, or I might not be, I guess maybe I'm not certain of what the outcome is going to be, but I know passionately that it is the right decision for me at this time in my life. And so that's how I felt with changing my career and starting reselling.
So would you say you're a hard worker typically?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like,
is that one of, sorry to interrupt you. So I just want to nail down to this. Is that what you think? Is that the secure factor in it, that you're like, okay, I'm taking this plunge because I know I'm a hard worker and it'll work out?
Yeah, because, I'd always worked for other people, and in every job that I'd worked at, I grew in my positions. Maybe I was hired on as just an employee, and then I would become a supervisor, and then I would become a manager, and then I worked my way into the human resources department. So I've always been somebody who's, ambitious, who wants to grow, who will work really hard, work long hours. So I knew if I can do that for somebody else, I can do that for myself.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what is, where do you sell primarily? What are your sales like? I know you said you source primarily from the bins or entirely?
Now it's pretty much primarily. This past October, I just decided I wanted to do Goodwill outlet bins shopping only, just because you cannot beat the cost. I mean, what you pay for items is so minimal, and the potential return on investment can be very great. Now, there is a lot in the middle there that, like you said, $15 to $25.
Right.
But when I'm paying, 50 cents for something, that's still a great profit for me.
Obviously. And you hit the random home runs. You hit the,
yes,
the for sure, like $50 thing every day or every few days, and the $100 thing once a week, and the $200 thing once a month, and the random, $1,000 thing every few months or whatever. But
and you're allowed to take risks there.
Right. But people don't understand. I think they, especially because people want to share like their glorious flips,
Yes.
people don't understand it's the $20 sales that make your business. Like,
absolutely.
And I actually want to make a lot of content around this same thing about why I like books. Just like for outside of the reason I like them for like listing and selling on Amazon and blah, blah, blah. It's because of the price. It's so risk averse. You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
It's not something that you have to manage your money so much. You can just make pretty good buying decisions and be pretty on top of it, and you're going to do well. You don't have to babysit your money and do all your accounting and make sure, you know what I mean? It's not like buying $50 things to make $14 or $18 because that adds up really quickly. And when you have bins inventory, like if next week you're just like, say, fuck it, I can't take it anymore, you could seriously just throw it all away and not even lose sleep over it.
Right. Or sell it all for $2 or $3 and still make a profit.
Yeah, just blow it all out and be like $1 an item. It's all gone the next day.
Exactly. Yeah. And like I said, it allows you to take risks. I'm able to learn a lot of new brands that way. Brands that I would never have maybe come across before.
So the main trade-off is definitely the time investment though, right? You're there a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I try and only go a couple times a week. I mean, I would love to go more in a perfect world, but I am for the most part, other than my virtual assistant, it's just me. I'm a team of one. So I have to process all the inventory myself. And I can.
So on average, how much time are you spending at the bins on a week?
A visit, usually I'll be there anywhere from, 3 hours to 5 hours at a time.
Okay. And so that's on a visit.
Yeah, on a visit. I mean, obviously, if it's really good, I'm going to stay longer. If my stamina is there's a lot of factors when you shop at the bins. I mean,
don't forget your snack bag. Very
don't
important.
Forget your snack bag. I've gone to some bins where people bring chairs. I don't know if yours are like that.
People don't understand. You can work so hard at the bins that like a simple thing like a Sprite or like a bag of almonds can literally make you feel like royalty.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's just it's true. It's really true. A granola bar is just like, it changes you. You go from like, I think it's time to go home. And then you eat something and you're like, I've got another 2 hours in me.
Yep.
So,
yeah. Definitely. So out of that, that time from the bins, because I know other people, Monica, the posh hanger, she was doing a primarily bins model for like a month. And I think she was able to get to, I saw it was 30,000, but I think it was her 2 month total.
Yeah,
so it was
I saw
like,
that.
It was at least like 15,000 in gross sales, all from the bins. And I think she said she only spent about $600, but yet she was there, like you're saying, 5 hours a day, and knowing her probably 4 or 5 days a week, and then listing on the weekends. And she was over it because of the time investment in driving, an hour there and an hour back.
Right.
And blah, blah, blah. So it's up to, everyone has, different needs and different wants. But I'm very interested to drill into the main topic of tonight, which we're finally going to get into here, like a half hour into the show, which is super awesome.
Worries.
Now that we've got to know Denali or Denali.
Yep.
Denali. It rhymes with Valley. Denali.
There you go.
Also rhymes with Cali.
It's okay.
Denali. It's not okay. You have to say people's names right. But anyways, yeah, because there's so much work involved with listing on eBay, and things like that. And I'm an Amazon seller primarily, but I also sell on eBay. And as soon as I started doing Amazon, I kind of left eBay in the dark, and like I kind of forgot about it so much. And I have employees, and we have eBay stuff and Amazon stuff. Guess what just sits there and piles up? The eBay stuff, because it requires so much work to be done.
It does.
Not just photographing, but also like, my brother was like, I don't like listing stuff. And I'm like, why? What do you mean? He's like, it takes too much of my brain to like look stuff up and research it. And he's like, I can't even listen to a podcast because I have to focus on this, learning about what kind of woman's shoe this is. And what kind, I'm reading an article about styles of women's pumps. You know what I mean? So, and it's because I'm ruthless. He's like, how do you do this? I'm like, watch a YouTube video, like I'm paying you to watch YouTube videos.
Right. But there is a lot of work involved in it.
Yeah, a ton.
Finding help.
Finding your systems in this reselling business, systems are the most important thing. And obviously virtual assistants, which we're going to talk about here in a second, are are going to help out a lot. But people definitely underestimate systems. They're like, how do you list, 10 items in an hour? I can only list like 4. And like you find out pretty quickly, if you're an expert, you know what the problem is. They're like, well, tell me how you're listing stuff. They're like, well, I listed some shoes, then I listed a pair of pants. And you're like, no, honey.
Right.
You need to list 10 pairs of shoes in a row.
Right.
You need to list 10 shirts in a row. Like there's all these little things you need to, like I saw Nicole's whole process from beginning to end, and it's madness. It's like, photograph everything and keep it in the order in the pile, then go through and draft everything, keep it in the same order. You know what I mean? And and then then when you load the photos, they're in the right order as the madness. You know what I mean? But all of those things save 3 seconds each time, times trying to get people have done insane things like list 100 items in a day.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be done, but maybe you don't sleep. I don't know. Or you have a lot of virtual assistants.
Right.
Or employees. Employees can help with that.
Right.
Like real live employees.
If the name of your game is like $20 items, you need to know how to move a lot if you want to generate a lot of capital. Or, I know people that like pretty much scoff at anything under 25, and then people that are like only sell $50 items, and so just depends. The one thing that I have learned about, higher items, besides the fact that obviously you do less work for your chunk of profit and the investment is more, is just that it's easier to sell, a $50 item than it is to sell a $10 item. Just because there's more people that want that $50 item. There's a reason that piece of shit is worth $10 because it's a piece of shit. Nobody wants those shitty jeans for $10. They want those $50 jeans, you know what I mean? So if you get the $50 jeans for 40 or whatever, or 30, it's easier to buy them for 30 and sell them for 50 than it is to buy it for $1 and sell it for 10.
Right.
Even though it's less risky.
Yes.
That's the game that you play, right?
Like but then now you're waiting for you're waiting.
Yeah, you're weighing the demand. Yeah, you're weighing the demand versus your own risk of your buying cost or whatever. So it's insane. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm super excited. So how do you use virtual assistants in your business?
Yeah.
And then we can go over like tips and like questions that people, because I could probably do all the questions myself, because it is definitely not easy to get a good VA going.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of people reach out to me with a lot of questions, so I'll try and kind of cover them. I did make a few notes here. So for me, some people, or for myself, when I first wanted to hire a VA, the question that you ask yourself is, well, when is it time? When is it time to hire a VA? And I think that, only you can answer that, right? When you need more time in your life, you need some help, and when it makes sense for you financially for your business. And there is no clean-cut answer in that, unfortunately. People maybe want to hear a dollar amount, like, oh, well, once you're selling X amount of dollars a month, but unfortunately that is all too personal to each one of our own businesses, right? Because I shop at the bins, my cost of goods is lower. I can afford to have a virtual assistant for myself, and at the same time sell $20 items. So identifying, when it's going to make sense for yourself in your life, and then finding a platform that you want to use. I mean, there's no shortage of places that you can hire a VA from. Places that I was familiar with when I first started looking was Fiverr, Fiverr.com, and Upwork.com. So Fiverr I had used for other projects in my life. You can hire somebody to really do anything on that platform. Maybe you need a graphic design project done. Maybe you need some research done on something. There's no limit to what they can do. But virtual assistants are one of the things that you can hire on that platform. I ended up using Upwork.com. I like what do I want to say? Kind of the security of the platform a little bit better than Fiverr, because Fiverr, you're just hiring somebody to do a project and then you say go, and there's not a lot of oversight on it. And that's the reason I liked Upwork, is that when you go and you hire a virtual assistant on their platform, after you hire them, this person actually will clock in and clock out for their shifts, as opposed to Fiverr, somebody could just tell you their hours, right?
Cool. Yeah, I did not know that. I actually use online jobs
Okay.
Which is, have you ever used Online Jobs?
No.
Yeah, so it's like a premier resource for hiring Filipino VAs.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
it's different in the fact that you pay them a monthly fee to be able to post your job ad and communicate with the applicants. And they have like thousands, like a crazy pool, like 100,000, I don't know. And then when people respond, it's direct with you off the platform. They don't get nothing, you know. So if you don't have to post any job ads, you don't have to pay your monthly fee, and you work directly or whatever. But they're all pretty similar. That's the main difference between like Upwork and Fiverr and Online Jobs. But I did not know that there was that clock in aspect with Upwork, which is really cool because I deal with that too. People are like, they over or undersell like their ability, and then they say, oh, they want salary, and then you find out like they're actually more skilled, and then what they're doing is like not taking a lot of time, and I'm like, dude, I'm paying you salary for what, 1 hour a day?
Yes, exactly. And you don't know what they're doing in that hour, you know, and that's a question that people ask me a lot is just, you know, are you concerned that they're actually doing the work that they say they're supposed to? And again, with Upwork, there is, I wish I was paid by them because I speak pretty highly of them only because I use the platform and enjoy it. But there is, like for my VA, once she clocks in, it takes a screen capture of her desktop every 10 minutes that she's working. Like it screenshots her work that she's doing so that you know that they're on task. It also measures her keystrokes and her mouse clicks so that you can see their level of productivity, and it'll show like a little bar graph at the bottom. And I believe that's captured, you know, every 10 minutes. So there is some security in knowing that they are doing the work that they say they're doing. Now, for the work that mine does, it's pretty evident. She is creating listings for me. So I would know if she's not doing
for eBay.
Work. For eBay, yes.
And using your eBay account or using like InkFrog or something?
Yeah, I've not used InkFrog. So she does use my account. That is a question people commonly ask, you know, does she have access to your account? Yes, she does. I'm not concerned about the security of my account because, you know, one, the work she's doing is monitored. It is through Upwork. If she were to do something to my account, which I don't know why she would want to, unless I pissed her off in some way, right? She could go mess with my store somehow. I would report her to Upwork. Likely she would be kicked off the platform in some, you know, and she would think about all that future income that she would have made on Upwork is now gone. Right. So it's like she would have to hate me in some way or feel vengeful about something, which I can't imagine what I would do to make her that upset.
I know you seem like a nice woman.
I'm a fairly nice gal. So
from what I've gathered so far in the last 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know.
And my VA, I love her. I love her so much. She's like, she's been with me for about a year. I've been with her for about a year. She's awesome. But yeah, so there, you know, additionally on eBay, there's no area on eBay that's holding your money. So it's not like they can access money on eBay and take some amount away from you. Right? That's in PayPal currently.
Right. And that's just for eBay, or do you have a VA for Poshmark as well?
So she also, the same VA, she cross-posts to Poshmark for me. Okay. And now on Poshmark, yes. Is there money held on that platform? Yes. Is it easy?
Is there someone in the chat is saying that Poshmark has a rule regarding domestic VAs only? Is that something you're aware of? Or
I've heard that before. So I've heard people say that, and it might even be in some of their verbiage. I can say mine, I have not experienced with that.
Right.
That hasn't been a problem for me, I guess I'll say.
Right. So we don't know, guys. We're not 100% sure. If you do know, please like paste the verbatim posh legalese in the comments, and then we'll see it and we will know.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I would say try it. I mean, hire somebody internationally, see if they're able to get into your account and do the work. And if they are, you know.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just weird. It's hard to like say that's the real value in like meeting people in real life is what I always tell people, Denali, is that it's like, you know, I can say what I'm, you know, there's some stuff we can't talk about on YouTube, guys. Right. Surprise, surprise. There's some stuff we're not talking about on YouTube. But if we're at the pub, you know, having a beer and especially if it's like the third beer, you know, or the end of the night and we're good friends by then, like
Yes.
You know, there's stuff that people do that, you know, that you just can't, it's not necessarily against the rules, but you know, it might kind of be like bending them, but I can't advise you to go do that.
Right.
So just like take everything you hear like with a grain of salt, right?
Yep.
So, you know,
I think you've got to experience it on your own and try it out and find out. I mean, the only issue I've run into in terms of having somebody who is an international VA was actually with the Mercari platform.
Right.
My VA was not able to cross post to there for me because it was like a VPN issue. I guess the country that my VA was in.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that totally makes sense.
Yeah, so I've actually thought about I need to probably just hire somebody domestic to do some cross posting there, or just continue to keep doing it myself.
Right. Yeah. But back to circle it around, just understand, guys, that like sometimes you gotta like, you know, do what you need to do. And I think as long as you're not being malicious and you're keeping your customers happy, and very important, making the platform you're selling on money, because they make money off of you and they see the sellers as basically products or, you know, of their platform. You'll be all right. You know what I mean? Like, it's very rarely that I hear this happen when people are like, oh, I got shut down and I got this and that. And it was like, they were doing everything right. They were, you know what I mean? It's always the thing they're not telling you. You know what I mean? They're freaking out online about how they lost their Amazon account or their eBay account.
Right.
But they're not telling you that, you know, they were listing counterfeit stuff or they were listing used stuff as new.
Right.
Or
there's always more to the story.
There's always more to the story, man.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. So let's see. I'm trying to think of what other notes that I took here.
So creating drafts, right? But so you're taking pictures then, or you have a helper locally or something.
No, I'm doing it. I have hired somebody locally in the past, and right now I'm doing it myself. So I'm taking all my photos and I'm packaging up all my inventory, which is primarily clothing. And then for my VA, what I do is I just send her all the photos and information about the listings. So I'll have like Google Sheets with like, you know, the inventory numbers and the items and the details about the items. And then I send her the photos.
So those are numbers that you assign to it?
Yes, because I do bag up the clothing and I'll assign an inventory number to it because I've got a lot of inventory.
Right.
Excuse me. And then, I just send it off to her and she just goes. So initially when I hired...
How much of the information are you including in the thing when you send it to her? Is she doing research to figure out other keywords to add? Are you giving the title how it should be? Like, what is it?
No, I'm giving her pretty basic information. So I'll tell her the brand name of the item.
Like, for example, like a pair of go through like a typical woman's pair of jeans or something.
I would tell her, you know, Hudson jeans, size 28. And then maybe I'll give the measurements on it, you know, 31-inch waist, 8-inch inseam, 30-inch.
And then what would the title be like that you got back?
Pretty detailed. She'll go and she'll match it up with the photo. She'll find, you know, the item and the item with the inventory number, that info. She'll match it up with the photo and then she does the research. So she'll search, you know, because I'll take pictures of the tag. So she'll search style numbers and she'll search previously sold items or currently sold items on eBay. Basically, she just will go all over the web.
Do you have any idea of how long it takes her per listing?
Depends, because I do also do accessories sometimes. So accessories, she can go faster and they can take anywhere from 6 to 8 minutes. And then for clothing items, she can go anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes, sometimes 6 on the lower end.
So about 5 to 6 an hour, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And I do pay her hourly. I don't pay her per item. That is an option on Upwork, or probably any, you know, platform, you know, however you decide you want to pay them. You can pay them per item or you could pay them by the hour. I feel comfortable paying by the hour. I think it works out to be the same if I had paid her per item.
Yeah, I think it just depends. Everyone has to feel out that situation, whatever works best.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think what really helped though, with her creating listings for me is that I created a training video after I hired her. And I think that you have to have this in some form when you hire somebody on, whether it be, you know, a 1 or 2 page document where you outline how you like to do things. If you are somebody who likes to type things out, for me, I'm very visual. So I just recorded a video of myself and I recorded myself building listings, and I walked and talked through the process. I said, okay, here's the title. Here's how I build a title. This is exactly how I like it.
So was that just a screen recording?
Yeah. So there's like a free website I use called screencastomatic.com. Yeah. And it allows you to record yourself for up to like 15 minutes for free. Yep. So that's the one I used. And yeah, I just screen recorded myself for that time building listings. And I showed her what resources I use on the internet. So I'll use like title-builder.com. That's great for finding keywords for eBay titles.
Title-builder.
Yeah, title-builder.com. So that's a good one. I didn't have her look. I mean, there's checkaflip.com, but that's more for looking up comps on pricing. But anyways,
what was that second one called?
Checkaflip. Checkaflip.com. So yeah, I had her, I told her to use Title Builder. I told her to look up style numbers, all that different stuff, basically all the process that I do. And I just built a bunch of listings. And I told her, you have questions, come back to me.
Okay.
And then I kind of let her run with it. And the first couple of days, I just had her do stuff. And I started making corrections. And that's something I learned in my managing career, as well as human resources career, is that bad habits are formed early on. So I really wanted to make sure that if there was something she was doing wrong, I caught it early and I told her, hey, like you're doing great with this, but make sure that I want the title this way and I want
what are some of the mistakes they made early on?
I think the way people build titles is everybody does it differently. And so for me, I like to have my titles be brand name, what the garment is, and then the size. And so she was building them and, it was just all over the place. It would be like brand name and then the size would be at the end and then, just little stuff like that. So it was just following up with her on little things, which a lot of times little things, we push those down and we say like, oh, no, that's fine. Like, I'll just fix it. Right. Like, I'll just do that. I'm not going to tell her about it.
Right.
But that defeats the whole purpose of having a VA, right? Like the whole point is that this is supposed to make your life easier. And so
it's not easy to do. It's like a pain process. You have to buy your way into it.
Are you saying like the follow-up and the feedback?
The whole process. Like it's actually technically easier, like on your day-to-day and momentary happiness level, to just keep doing the work yourself.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then to like bring someone in, it's like unnatural. You feel like you can't do it. I have to make a training video. Now I got to talk to them again and tell them about this mistake. And I don't feel like talking to anybody right now. I just ate some pizza, like whatever, who knows? You know what I mean? But once you get over that, you're like, exhale, like, okay, cool. I don't have to do this anymore. But like you're saying, you have to stay on it.
It's short term. If you can make those corrections early on with somebody, then they're going to get it and you're going to fall into a rhythm that much quicker. And I feel like she and I were able to do that. And, you can ask them to do a myriad of different projects, right? It doesn't have to be listing. I had her help me with my books one time because I'm not, I don't love doing my books. So I had her helping me with some of my Poshmark sales, just like going through and inputting information. I mean, they can do anything for you.
No, seriously, anything. People don't understand. That's one thing that I would like to give people in this. And obviously, they're not really here to learn from me so much about hiring VAs, but it's hard to hire in real life and in virtual life. Mm-hmm. So once you have someone who you trust, who is good for you, that works for you, leverage that in a couple ways. One of which is if you need another worker, ask them if they know anybody that could work for you, because that works so good. Trust me. Yeah. But also, hey, do you have any more free time? Would you like to do anything else? Because like I have VAs that work for my t-shirt business, and I got tired of checking my email, and I was like, hey, I'll give you $2 a day to check these 3 email accounts. And so for now, for $2 a day, I don't have to check my email anymore. Like literally, I'll just get a Skype message that's like, this one's important. You should check this one out.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like,
it's wonderful.
Right? So there's, you know, or just like anything that you can think of, you know, like you need make sure your groceries are ordered, you know, like
they can make a doctor's appointment. I mean, they can do things in your personal life and they can do things in your professional life. You know, I'm really bad because I sell on multiple platforms. I'm bad at like deleting an item off one platform when it sells on another. So I just started having her do it. It was just like, hey, you know, that's going to be one less thing that I have to worry about. And I won't worry that I'm now double selling it on a platform.
Right. The inventory management. Yeah. Yes. That's another thing that's cool about that is you having a VA in another country. You know, like I'm getting customer messages like before I'm awake because they're East Coast, or in the middle of the night because I went to bed at 10 and they're up at like 2 a.m. asking me where's their shirt that they ordered at 8 p.m. that night. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they can answer that because they're awake and I'm not. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's great.
No, it is great because she and I work on opposite schedules. So by the time my workday is kind of finishing and wrapping up and I have stuff to send to her, she's just waking up and starting her day. So then she works while I'm sleeping. I wake up in the morning and basically she's not publishing listings for me. She's creating drafts. So I wake up in the morning and I've got like 30 drafts, you know,
do you guys have a talk every day or 5 days a week or anything? Do you talk or do you just text? And how do you communicate?
So Upwork has a chat platform, you know, just like a texting type of platform. And so we just message back and forth. So if she'll tell me if she's ready for more work or if she has a question about an item. So we talk probably 5 to 10 times a week, you know, multiple times throughout the day.
In text?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not text message, but through their app.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just curious because I noticed that a lot of my VAs, they'll be super talkative and then you like ask to actually do like a face-to-face and it's like hard to get them to do it. You know, I think a lot of them aren't so comfortable with their spoken English skills. So they're like shy, you know what I mean? So it's not entirely necessary. You know what I mean? I just, for certain things, I like to make sure it's there, you know?
Yeah, and she and I haven't done a video chat. I mean, for the most part, when I've just asked her to take on a new project, I just make a training video.
So how many hours is she working?
A lot, but that's by her choice, not mine. So just to preface that first off.
Is she doing all of that work or do you do that work also? Do you create drafts also?
No, I'm not creating drafts at all, which is
so 100% of your drafts are done by your VA.
Yes. And I love it. I mean, it was great. It was just like, that was the whole point for me hiring a VA was just to have one less thing on my plate. Like take one small part of my business.
What did you say the hourly rate was that you were paying?
I didn't.
Oh, okay. I thought you did.
I didn't say, but you know, it can range. I actually have a YouTube video on this where I literally walk through the process of hiring somebody on Upwork.
Let's pause real quick.
Yeah.
Hi guys. I'm Reezy. I just wanted to let you know that Denali has a YouTube channel and you should go there and subscribe to it. There's a link down there. There's Instagram. Just click subscribe. We're giving you free value. So always go and show the guests some love. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
No, I appreciate that. I do have a video. So if people are curious and they want to see what it looks like to hire somebody on Upwork, to recruit somebody and then actually hire someone, I did make a video. So you can go and check that out. But the rates can vary. I mean, you can hire somebody for as little as, I don't know, $3, possibly less, but I've seen $3 on the low end. And then, yeah, of course, you can pay somebody $10, $15, $20 an hour. It just depends what part of the country or what part of the world you're going to hire them from, because the living wage varies country to country. You know, $3 is really awesome somewhere, and $3 in the US is not so awesome here. But depending on the task, depending on the task that you're looking for somebody to do, you know, you want to make sure that the price is going to work for you. And this is a pretty simple job. It's just basically data entry with a little bit of internet research. Some, you know, people are getting to do it from home. It's not a bad gig. So anyways, to answer your question, how many hours is my VA working? She was working 40 hours a week, and then she asked for more. So I've now capped her at 60. So she can work up to 60 hours a week. And most weeks she takes advantage of all of those hours. That's fine with me. The rate works for me. It is inexpensive enough for myself that it works for my business. And I do see the return on it. But then again, on Upwork, that is something you can control. You can adjust how many hours they can work so that they don't go over.
Right. So you're saying it's like a few bucks an hour, a couple bucks an hour?
I'm on the lower end. Let's say that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on the lower end.
All right. So I personally pay, I have 2 VAs myself, and I pay one salary $450 a month. She's from Venezuela. She actually emigrated to Argentina with some of the money that she made from working for us. But she does designs for us, and I get, like 150 designs from her a month for that price. So I'm paying like $3 a design, something like that. And then my other VA, she does random stuff for me and then uploads all the shirts and does customer service. And she works, I believe, for $250 an hour. So if they're watching or listening, shout out Andrea and Alejandra. But I doubt it. I doubt it. But the crazy thing is that's a ton of money.
Yes.
Where they're at, like a ton, like more than a doctor makes, you know what I mean? Like,
and I was concerned about that, and a lot of people they'll ask me that. They'll say like, oh gosh, well, that's not a lot of money that they're getting paid. And so I looked into it, the country where my VA is from, and that's a great living wage.
It's more than people with like PhDs from good colleges in that country are making.
Yes, exactly. And, and I tell people, and I say it in my video that I made, if you want to support US jobs and pay someone $15 an hour here to be your virtual assistant, that's awesome. But for me and my business, what works for me is to go international and hire somebody.
Yeah, well, it's just the natural democratization of whatever, the energy is always going to flow to the least resistance, you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, I look at it the opposite way. I'm like, cool, we don't have to do those types of things as Americans anymore. You know what I mean? Now let's focus on other stuff, or maybe there will be a point where people don't need to work as much because robots are doing the jobs, and prices will have to come down. You know what I mean? If people won't have any money to buy anything, you can't charge us so much. We don't even want to work. You know what I mean? But
yes. And what's cool about, Upwork, or really just having a VA in general, is it is an employee, and you are allowed to give them a pay increase or a bonus at your own discretion. With my VA, I gave her a bonus at the end of the year. I paid her basically, which is not a lot of money for me, but is a lot of money for her. I paid her like a week or 2 weeks salary,
Right. Yeah. And so a lot of people probably don't know, but they call it, at least in the Philippines, they call it the 13th month. And so it's customary in the 12th, right before, basically it's like their version of the Christmas bonus is you give them a month's worth of pay in addition, on the.
Oh, I didn't know that.
For Christmas, basically. So like basically the 12th payment of the year, just double it. You know what I mean? And that's kind of, I'm not too into the culture to say it's expected, but I feel like they think you're kind of a douche if you don't give them that. And even to the point where like, and I of course give it to them, but like, I had someone who didn't even work for me for a year. They worked for 6 months. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to give you half of your 13th month, as a parting thing. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's cool. I didn't know about that, but noted.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. It's a cool little thing. Sometimes you get screwed over with bonuses, or like a lot of companies want to give you like $1 raise or like a quarter raise or.
Yes. Right.
God.
Yeah.
Working for yourself is so much better than.
So true.
Dealing with these corporate raises.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why we do what we do.
Right.
But I also wanted to say that, she's not the only VA I've had. I've had other VAs, you got to try a few, and it's not going to work out. What's nice is that, they are freelancers, so you can hire and fire at your own will.
So speak real quick, hiring and firing.
Yeah.
Firing is way more important than hiring, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's like a old HR saying, which is, hire slow, fire fast, right? You want to make sure that you're getting the right person in, because it costs a lot of money to like I mean, in the corporate world to
and
onboard
you dealt with a lot of this stuff in the corporate world with hiring. And so like you're involved with what aspects of hiring in the HR department?
All aspects, recruiting, interviewing,
including like in reporting costs of what it costs to hire a person or like not hire a person, or like they just like making sure you stay within the budget of the supervisors want for hiring, or
right. Yeah. I mean, I had my own budget for hiring.
Were you in control of like the advertising for the applicants and all that stuff?
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because hiring is insane. Like the hiring that I've done, and maybe it's a little weird because sometimes it's like, okay, hey, I'm going to hire you to go to the Goodwill bins for 8 hours a day for me for 40 hours a week. It's a weird job. You know what I mean? Yes. Or I'm going to hire you to go around all these stores, you know what I mean? Run a route for me, and then come pack some shit up. It's weird, right? But from what I've got, and I've like posting on Indeed or whatever, and I'll schedule like, 12, 15 interviews in a day, and I'll get ready, and I swear maybe 4 people will show up.
Yep.
And out of those 4 people, there will be like nobody I want to hire, and be like one person that I'm like, man, that might work, and then I hire them, and then they work for a month or 2 months, and then we're back to square zero. And I specifically, frustrating for me because we have a very small location and it's autonomous somewhat, just has a couple employees and a couple sources, and it kind of runs itself, but it's in another state. And so when I need to hire someone, I have to fly there. I have to get a hotel. I have to get a rental car. And then I'm there for a week, and I'll do 3 or 4 days of solid interviews, and I'll have to leave and not find anyone to hire.
Yeah.
And I'll have to go there for 2 weeks maybe to try and find someone to then have a week to train them. It's madness. And then you get someone, you train them, you leave, and they quit a week later, a month later. All of a sudden you find out they're stealing time on the schedule, the webcam. They say they do this. You check the security camera they didn't know was there. They're not doing that. You know what I mean? They're drinking 6-pack of beer in the storage unit. You know what I mean?
It's very expensive. Yeah. Hiring is a very expensive task because, you're, like you said, you're spending all that money just to find the right candidate, and God willing, they work out. Right.
Right. And that's why I think like the firing thing is the part you need to get good at. You need to like people say, don't marry your inventory. Like don't marry your job candidates. Just like rifle through them. They're all worthless until you find the good one. Like no disrespect, but just like you need to go through them. You need to like, if you need one, hire 10. I don't know. I'm not good at it yet, but like that way you can just say, no, man, we really only need one and we hired 10. So you guys better all work really hard. Like,
I mean,
9 of you out.
Right. And it's going to vary so much by business, right? I mean, retention is so important. But yeah, I mean, when in my experience with the VAs, it's a little bit different, right? There's tons of them out there.
Right.
And I'm kind of sitting in the better position with it.
Right.
I'm looking for the perfect one. They're hoping they are. I think I've probably fired is such like an extreme word, but I've let go. I've let go of 3 of them.
Yeah, you mostly just lose time with the hiring of VA. It's not like you have to fly somewhere, do this, do like whatever. It's just time,
way less extreme. Yeah,
because I'm dealing with that right now. I have an editor for YouTube, and it's kind of just not kind of working out. So we're kind of trying to get it going, but it's kind of been over a month and a half, and it's kind of just chugging along, and my production is stifled because I'm waiting on this to hopefully blossom. And it's like, you know what I mean? Hopefully he's not watching or whatever, but it might get to the point where I just have to cut it off because it's just like, but the reason it's not there yet is because I'm too much of a wuss, because I'm not skilled at knowing that you need to cut it off. And it's kind of like, I don't know why, because to me, and now that I think of it, it kind of just seems like reselling, as opposed like a hire is like an inventory, and you bought it and it didn't work out so well. I had a fantasy about this buy. Let me liquidate this buy, right? Let me drop it to market value and get rid of it and so I can roll the dice again with, get your 20 or $40 back.
Well, and I can understand, how you might be feeling, dragging your feet and potentially letting somebody go because, it took you a lot of time to find someone. You found someone you liked, or you thought you liked. You thought it was going to be a good fit. It's now not turning out to be a good fit. But the thought of having to go through the process and rehire somebody again is probably worse.
Right, because you feel like you've already, like that's an account that you've deposited equity into. You're like, okay, it's going to work out. It's going to work out. It's going to work out. Is it going to work out? I think it's going to work out. It might work out. And then like, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and be like, this is not going to work out.
Right. But now you feel like, well, gosh, they've been with me for 3 or 4 months, you know, they think they're doing really great. And here I have to come in now and tell them, hey, it's never been working. Right. You know, and that feels difficult too. Some people get too emotional with them. I'm not saying that that's your case, but some people can. They feel like, oh, you know, I'm connected with this person. They think they're doing a good job. And that can happen with a VA. That's why I say, you know, nip it in the bud early, right? They're not doing something, you've got to not be on them, not micromanaging them, but just letting them know, right? Like this is not working, correct this behavior.
So what random techie question, are you using like Google Drive or Dropbox to send pictures? How are you doing that?
Yeah, I'm not super techie, so I would recommend people use Google Drive or Dropbox. I'm actually using Google Photos.
Okay.
Mostly
it could be great. Sometimes things are so stupid they're easy and
well, and that's exactly what it is. It's stupid easy for me. So that's what I use. I use Google Photos, and if I could just figure out Google Docs or Dropbox better, I would totally do it. But you know, here I am being guilty of just in my own routine, and I'm just lazy, and now I don't want to learn another way to do it. So
it's not like, I know we're supposed to be talking about VAs, but like I want to just talk about hiring in general. And I think it all matters anyways, right? And this might be just selfish of me, but I mean, I think we all at some point need some help, whether or not it's like friends or family working. Yeah. Is that a thing? Friends and family. Working in our garage, or we have a little warehouse and we're putting up that one ad on Indeed. Don't put job ads on Craigslist. That's not a good idea anymore. But you know what I mean? Like because this is how I went into hiring, right? I went into hiring the complete wrong way. I basically I looked at, you know, everything they said and like whatever they said in the interview and like all this bullshit, you know, and then they show up and then their work ethic nothing matches. You know what I mean? And then I got a little bit wiser and I started to realize, they can lie on all this stuff. I can't even call their past employers and ask if they worked there. I'm like, again, when I realized that, I was like, why does everyone give a shit about your work history when you can't even verify it? Like, dude, if you're putting out job ads, just lie on that shit. They can't even call. Like, I don't get it.
Well, but then I would say to that, I think that's one of the things that you do have as the hiring person is to call. I'd say call.
No, I tried calling several places and they would be like, yeah, we can't release that information.
Well, okay. So then the way around that, as somebody who worked in HR and also used to manage people and would have to call and ask those sort of questions, people say, well, we can't answer those questions. Well, that's actually by choice. It's not like a legal thing. They just, they worry that they're going to get in trouble. So then I would say to, you know, the former employer, I would say, oh, sure, that's fine. Would you mind if I ask you yes or no questions? So that they don't feel like they have to say, yeah, no, Dustin never showed up to work on time. Instead, you can say to them, so can I ask, was Dustin, did he show up in a timely manner to his shifts? That's a yes or no question. They don't feel like they have to say a lot. So I would try and find little ways around it to get information about their work performance.
Yeah, so in that scenario, it would be quite helpful to have like their direct manager's name or contact. So like, you know, if they worked at Walmart for 4 years as a manager, you're not just calling that Walmart store and asking about Timothy Smith because they don't know who that is. You need to call, you know, the electronics department and talk to the manager and ask him about Timothy Smith.
And in the interview with your candidate, I would say to them, hold up their resume that they sent you and say, are all of these prior employers okay to call? Now, don't ask about the references. Sometimes they have phone number references, and those are usually like family or friends or people that are close to them. I would hold up the former employers and I say, are these people okay to call? And check if they trip up, like, oh, yeah, you know, or if they're confident and say, yeah, you can call them, no problem. And then additionally say, okay, and is this, you know, your boss that you listed here, Jennifer so-and-so, is this her direct line? Right? Because you do want to talk to the actual person that managed or worked alongside them.
And then go track them down on LinkedIn.
And then,
or
find them,
whatever you have to do. Get them.
Facebook, Instagram them. No.
So here's, and I don't know, maybe you'll know, you can expound on this more, but kind of what I've learned is that I've only hired a few people that I would consider were really good employees. And I'm excluding the friends and family completely.
Sure.
Just because they get a pass.
Right.
And it's always like, for one, like I've seen like, okay, like women who are like, they have kids and they are like about their kids and like they're a good mom. And I am married and have a wife and kids. And I'm like, oh, that's a really hard job. Like, this is so easy compared to being a mom. You're like, okay, boom, that worked out, you know? Had a guy that worked for us for a few years and he was like ex-military, you know? And so he's used to working way harder, you know? And then also, you know, have people tell him how to dress, how to talk, you know what I mean? And so working for someone that's actually cool was like a big benefit, you know?
Sure.
And then I had some younger kids that worked for me that were referrals from my daughter. And my daughter's really into music. And so these are kids that, you know, have been playing a music instrument for like 10 years, you know,
very disciplined.
Exactly. And so I kind of like put it all together in my head and I was like, oh, like, it's kind of like these qualities that they learned in life as they grew up. Like, not like exactly what they can do or what kind of skill set they have, but like, what did they learn that you can't teach them? You will never be able to teach them these things. What did their mama teach them? You know what I mean? And so if they're into something, you know what I mean? Like, people, like, I had someone say, I was like, what are you into? And they're like, well, I like to party. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Right. So, but it's like, you're into, you know, theater, or dance, you've been doing something. It requires dedication. You're showing up, you're practicing, you've been doing, like, you know, I hate to say it, but like, anybody who's never done anything for at least a year is probably not someone you want to hire. Because like you said, hiring's expensive. And it's like, if you've never done anything, even for yourself, and like video games doesn't count for a year, like, what, like,
I think
I expect you to work for me.
No, I think I totally agree with you. I mean, you know, if I would get a candidate who'd come in, because we had a lot of hourly workers at places that I've managed, you know, if somebody came in, and even if they didn't have a lot of job history necessarily, if I saw, you know, if they were still in school or in schooling of some sort, if I saw that they were involved in a lot of activities, you know, again, just coming, or sports, you know, that would indicate kind of that disciplined.
Yep. Same thing.
Those are things that you can look for. I think there's a lot of stuff that you can discover just with interview questions, right? Like you said, somebody told you they like to party, right?
Oh my God.
You know, because you can keep it casual in the interview and you can be like, oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, like, I'm down with keeping it casual and being real, but the type of person that thinks that's okay is not okay. It's the same type of thing where, like,
your business.
If you show up to it, I don't care, like, I'm not going to make you dress a certain way or have a certain haircut, and I don't care if you're high when you're not at work, you know, or drink a beer when you're not at work. But if you show up to the interview high or obviously drunk or whatever, but like, you know, if you didn't put any effort into your dress or appearance when you showed up at the interview, that's a bad sign. I don't really give a shit. You're working in a warehouse for me with some dirty books. I really don't give a shit about that, but it tells a lot, you know, you didn't even know. Cause like, what, you show up in some like gym pants, like dragging your feet, and that's at the interview. Like, good Lord, 2 weeks from now, are you even going to show up?
Yeah. And you know what would be interesting, and I don't know if you've done this, you know, you said you travel for some of your interviews. Do you ever do like a pre-interview, like via Skype?
So yeah, that's another thing that I actually learned, is that to quit wasting your time and going straight from contact to physical interview is to do the phone interview. And it just gives you, every time you can give someone like more of a little hoop to jump through, it funnels it down to like more serious candidates. So
absolutely,
that's very important. Is like, okay, cool. I would love to interview you. Let's do the primary phone interview. Here's my number. You call me between this time, and just give them like, you know, a 5 or a 10-minute window.
Yes.
And if the phone doesn't ring during that time, I guess you didn't want a job. You know?
But you know, it seems small, but you know, the reality is that's unfortunately a huge step for a lot of people.
It seriously isn't. And it makes sense. I remember when I worked at the skate shop, I was like assistant manager, and people would turn in applications and I would just put them in the bottom of the stack. Like there's no way I would ever look at anyone's application if they didn't call me and bug me to look at it.
Right.
And in fact, I think we ended up giving the job to like a young high school kid that would just randomly come in and just fold shirts for free and stuff. He would just come in and just like sweep up, fold stuff, like just want to hang out with the cool kids, you know? And then we're like, dude, you want a job? Like,
yeah, there's
you know what I mean?
lot.
So it's just like,
There's a lot to just those little things. Yeah. Calling, following up, like, you know, as somebody who hired a lot of people, those small things like sending a thank you note or a follow-up email or some sort of reach out is appreciated, and it keeps you fresh in people's mind.
How about this? What kind of stuff did people do to stand out in the hiring process? Because when I remember when I used to fill out job applications, and this is might not be comparative because obviously I feel like you were hiring at a much higher level. I was like going to, you know, literally walking out, filling out job applications over 15 years ago. I would do random stuff. Like I'd fill out my job application. Or if it was like turn in a resume, I would print it on like thicker paper and I'd make it like square, not rectangular. So like it wouldn't fit with the stack of paper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if they had a job application, I would, when I would get done filling it out, I would like bring a highlighter with me. And I would like put stars in the top of the thing, and then I would like highlight it, and then I would turn it in, because the person who accepts the application is not the person who so like in my head somewhere in the process, you know what I mean? Someone's like, so someone starred this one, you know what I mean? Like, let's look at this, you know? So I'm interested if there's any kind of hacks that people who are trying to land jobs can use to impress HR or to like to get their foot in the door. Like what, you know, is there anything like that?
A little bit. I mean, you know, nowadays so much hiring is done online. So resumes are sent electronically. You know, you're not receiving paper applications for the most part. So it's hard to, you know, have a different size or a thickness to the paper. Things that
well, I mean, all these things.
Yeah.
There's analogies to these.
I think that people underestimate a cover letter. And I would say at any level of a job that you're applying to, including a cover letter, and, you know, don't overthink it. Just introduce yourself and how are you going to be the best fit for a job in addition to your resume. Small things like spell check. A lot of people don't spell check their resumes or their cover letters for that matter, or they'll forget to change the employer name that they're hiring.
What about putting like non-technically specific work stuff, you know, like you know, blah 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 is killer golf stroke, you know, like blah blah blah, and loves puppies, you know what I mean? Like I don't know about hiring, but I see that in like in the tradition, like in like bios, you know, I see like nowadays everyone's bio is not like, you know, they're like a billionaire, blah 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 mogul, and it's like humble, you know, like soccer and puppies, you know, like made a $10 billion company like soccer and puppies.
I think you have to do it well, because that sort of humor that you're trying to inject into an application, I think you can't do too much of it, right? Because it's at the end of the day, it is like a serious thing. I think you've got to do, like, if you're going to do it, do a teeny bit of it, and it better work really freaking well for whoever you're applying to, you know?
Yeah.
But otherwise, I would say the best thing, you know, that always stands out, confidence. Confident people always stand out in an interview.
Do you ever do any weird hiring? I know it's like the trend is to like ask open-ended questions because you kind of don't really give a shit about what they say. You just want to hear them talk for a while and get a conversation going. And also in the same turn of like create open-ended situations or whatever. And so, you know, I've thought of things like, you know, throwing because, you know, book selling is like, they're all books, packing books, like whatever. I've thought of just throwing like a TV in there with like a Nintendo and Tetris, and then like literally just like awkwardly being like there, like play Tetris. Like, this is this is the first thing. Like, hey, like super serious. Like, all right, I want you to play Tetris. Like, hi, how you doing? Welcome to the job interview. I'm gonna need you to play Tetris, and then just like don't say shit and just watch them play Tetris, and like. It's like an inside joke. I kind of do care how good you are at it, because it's like a logic game, and it's part of packing books into boxes. It's Tetris, right?
No, that makes sense.
But it's just this weird thing that's like, I don't know. I think that kind of thing could be like really weird because you could get a vibe. It's all about a vibe. Like I feel like I say I can't trust someone until I've had a beer with them. Because like when you have a beer with someone, you just have a vibe. Like it's just chill and it's just like, but in an interview setting, it's not always like that. So how can you throw people out of the mix a little bit so you can kind of get a more real-ish,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that. Or I think you could even take it a step further and like when you're hiring, in that pre-interview steps, asking them like, what's your favorite classic Nintendo game that you played when you were little? See if they say Tetris. You know what I mean? See what game they say, right?
Right. Yeah. No. It's just, I just think about all the, because it's so fake. Everything's fake, when you want to go. It's like a first date. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You're going to, except for people care way less. They care way more for a first date. But still, you know what I mean? You're going to do, at least if you care, you're going to do your best. It's not going to be,
right.
The real truth.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of want to the goal of an interview is to kind of find out all the worst stuff that you can. Try and weed it out. Get all of that stuff gone so you can feel confident about the person you're bringing on, and open-ended questions will get you there sometimes. But I think that there's value in bringing in the fun parts because there is going to be this fun component of your business, and like you said, Tetris can accomplish the same sort of thing, right? You're going to be working in this warehouse. You're going to be stacking boxes and trying to fit things in different ways. So I think that would be cool.
Yeah. No, it's but just something to cut through the fakeness, and then on top of that having the several layers of filtering, through the, and dude, some people, and people don't, if you've never tried to hire people, you might not realize this. You could put an ad out, get hundreds of replies, if not thousands, and then out of those, like let's say 10%, like say it's 100, or let's just say it's 1,000. 1,000 people respond to the ad. There's only 10% that you think are gonna be good fit for the job, and that takes you a considerable amount of time to go through them. So there's 100 people that you're gonna email back. Out of those 100, how many do you think is gonna email you back? You know what I mean? Off of a random Indeed job, like I don't know, 30% or something, 40%.
Right, because by the time you get back to them, they've probably already been hired at another job.
Right, or who knows what it is? They're just slackers and they want like another temporary job or whatever.
Right.
So then you email those 30%, and then you talk to them and you find out, only half of them are actually ones that you want, and then you tell those to call you, and that 15 turns into 7 that actually call you and schedule a physical interview, or you only want to schedule half of them for a physical interview based on the phone call. So now you have 3.5 people from 1,000 responses. Right. And hopefully they show up and it's not, I would never, like, that's a waste of money interviewing 3.5 people in a day. I want to schedule 10 people a day for an interview for one job minimum.
Yeah. I mean, that's the ideal, but hopefully those 3.5 are just banging.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I know they're out there, man. I've found these people that are just like, they were so valuable to the company that it's like, when they're like, oh, can I get a day off? You're like, please, you're so amazing. Like, get out of here. Like, take 3 days off. Right. You know what I mean? Or just like, hey, can I get an advance? Or like, are you kidding me? Like, of course you can have an advance. You know what I mean? And like, oh, I've worked for you for 2 years and I got to part ways. And it's like, dude, we appreciate you. Like, here's your last check. Here's an extra 2,000, or here's an extra, 13th month or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just like, let us know if you want to do anything in the future, wherever you're at, it's just.
And I think that, like what you were saying, the retention part of it is extremely important too, right? Treating your employees really well so that they stay. Right.
And not even just so that they stay, so that you, like I just said, like they're going to leave, but like maybe we could work for them again in the future. Yes, like a really good employee is so valuable. You can build an entire business around that person. Right. So like, you're a boss. I want to stay in touch with you, because especially when you find someone that is a really good worker or, manager, and they're not interested in being an entrepreneur. They just want, a $50,000 a year job, a $70,000 a year job, whatever it is that they want. That's what they're happy with and clocking out, and they'll build your empire for you. You know what I mean? So they're super valuable, and you need to do whatever. Yeah, whatever. And referrals. Yeah, maybe they're not going to work for you, but maybe, their kid needs a job or their cousin needs a job, and the referral from someone like that was a high caliber employee that worked for 2 years is going to be good, guaranteed.
Yeah. And then your best case scenario, they come back to in a year when they're done traveling the world or whatever they needed to do, and you bring them back on.
Yeah, super, super important. Let's see if we have any questions from the audience. I know we actually guess how many people are watching. Guess.
I don't know. 15.
106 people.
Hey, 106 people. How's it going?
But we got a problem, 106 people. There's only 67 likes.
Uh-oh.
And I don't like that. That's like a 40 difference. Let's fix that, guys. But also throw some questions in the chat. We're going to answer some of these questions, and then we're going to head out. We're going to finish up here in the next 10 minutes or so. We're going to run about a half hour over time. But if you guys have any questions about hiring VAs for your reselling business, or any questions for Denali, any questions about Goodwill bins, I actually comment about Goodwill bins. Someone in my mastermind said that they were at the bins and saw a guy literally like cut the crap out of his whole forearm and his hand because he was grabbing DVDs so aggressively, which if you don't go to the bins, you don't know what this means. But grabbing aggressively literally means the physical threshold of speed of which your body can grab stuff. And this happens every day, all day at the bins.
Yes.
And grabbing DVDs so quick, grabbed a broken glass from a picture frame and cut his hand up all gnarly. So if you are out at the bins, I know it slows you down. I know gloves suck, but you might want to wear some gloves.
Yeah, especially if you're digging in the hard goods.
Cutting your hand like that is gnarly.
I mean, even, like I mostly go through the clothing, and the worst thing in the clothing is you come across something wet and you're just like, oh gosh, got to burn my hand later. Note to self.
Burn hand.
I think the worst thing I have ever seen in a bin was a mouse, a live mouse, and it just started scampering through the bin. So
no. I've seen many things like that. I've seen, so I've been to a bunch of different bins all across the country. They're all in different states of disrepair. But like, okay, this winter leaky barn type Goodwill situation, not a modern one. Buckets that catch the drops all over the place, and literally just rats in the buckets swimming around in circles. And you're like, you're there with 8 hours with rats and you're trying to work. People don't understand that. Like, if you're either a bins person or you're not. Like, have you ever taken anyone there who was like, you got them all excited and they were like, yeah. And then you get there and they just like turn into a wallflower. They're like scared. They're like, let's get out of here. Just insanely. I'm scared and it's gross.
Yeah. One time I took my mom when I first started reselling just so that she could see what I do and experience it. And after that, she said, she never needed to go back there again. And that was okay, because it's not for everyone. I mean, that's what regular thrift stores exist for. Some people like the experience of shopping and moving things along in the rack. And that's great. And it's dignified, but I love a deal and I have to dig.
Yeah. And it's, the risk is worth the reward.
Absolutely.
And shout out to Lux Huntress, who's in the chat right now. And she actually said, she listed one of the risks of digging in the clothing could be period panties. So occasionally you might find those, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not even joking. Like, it could be the grossest shit. You could put your hand on some like underwear that someone threw away and donated that they shit themselves on. Like a sweater or a backpack that someone threw up in and just zipped up and donated to the Goodwill, or just soaked with pee and just donated while it was moldy with pee. There's birds flying around inside. They might shit on you. It might get on your eye or in your mouth. Like, there might not be any running water. Like, the cost to be a bins boss is high.
It is. It's not cute. There's nothing cute about shopping at the bins. I think I've come across a customer picked up a shirt or a jacket and blew their nose into it and then set it back in a bin. So that was pretty nasty.
Yeah. But I'm not gonna lie, I've fully just grabbed a shirt at the bins and blown my nose on it. But I'm not
it was you.
I'm not savage that I would put it back in the bin. I would throw it in the trash can.
Yeah, somebody just threw it right back in, like, and open.
And no, I'm not paying 50 cents a pound for that shirt that I just blew my nose on.
Heck no, no way. Yeah. Are your bins where you're located for clothing? Do you pay by the pound or is it one set price for clothing?
I'm not sure on the so they used to be in the town where I was at forever, like where I grew up at. And then about a year and a half, 2 years ago, they moved 45 minutes away. So I don't even go there regularly anymore. I'm trying to get that set up. So I'm not in touch with that. I want to say it's by the pound.
Okay.
But I'm super allergy dude or whatever.
Yeah.
So I have to wear a mask, like not even the chintzy one, like the $4 mask with the little ports or whatever, or else I'm like coughing up mucus for like 2 hours after I get out.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have to take allergy meds for it, but like our bins up here in Washington, it gets cheaper if you hit 50 pounds, if you hit 100 pounds, the price drops. So if we hit 100 pounds, it goes to like 89 cents a pound, which is great. But Lux Huntress and I, which is Ty, she and I have been traveling recently and thrifting other bins. So we've gone to Denver and we've gone to Los Angeles, and those places, they just have one flat price. Like I can't remember what it is in LA. I want to say it's like $1.89 or $1.79 a pound. So a little on the higher side.
That's so fun. That gives me, I have a lot of ideas, way more ideas than that's why I like doing YouTube. I just give my ideas away. And then I have a chance of seeing them because I'll never do them all. But idea alert. Yeah. Get a bunch of resellers, like film a YouTube show where we all just mob Goodwill bins like across the country. And it's like each episode is in a different city at a different bins. And it'd be like, you know, like, I don't know, maybe some people can fly to all of them and maybe some people can only go to the ones that they can drive to or whatever. But you get like 20 influencer reseller people. And really it's just an excuse for us all to hang out. But it'd be cool to travel around and
and that's what we could come up with. That's what's been fun when she and I have gone and traveled. We've, announced it. We've said like, hey, we're going if anybody wants to meet up. And we've had people come and meet up and thrift with us. Maybe they stay for 30 minutes, maybe they stay the whole day. But it's a great way to meet people. I mean, this is a lonely job. You know what I mean?
It's super lonely. And the bins is it's weirdly interesting to me. Honestly, it's I don't even know how to like frame it because I could make more money doing a consultation or like selling an ad for my YouTube channel or podcast or trying to set up an email click funnel, working on a course or whatever. But it's not like, that's just money. It's not exciting to me like finding some stuff, which is weird because oftentimes it's still just like, oh, those jeans you're going to sell for 30 that you got for $1, but it sparks a different type of joy inside my mind. And I just feel like good old America, like it's like some Wild West, like some frontier, like unexplored frontier, like I just think about it. It's
digging for gold.
Exactly, but it's like it's one of the last American treasures. You're like, seriously, if you're watching or listening to this and you don't know what the Goodwill bins are, it's the Goodwill outlet. So go to Google, type Goodwill outlet, see if you have one near you. Sometimes it's called the bins or the barn or the as is or whatever it's called, but it's basically the last stop before the landfill for the Goodwill. It's their last stop at trying to monetize all the donations. And it's usually by the item, by the pound, by the bag, by the box, whatever. It's super cheap.
Yes.
And it's not always like the worst of the worst. Sometimes, depending on what the county is, they might have so much donations that stuff never went to a store. It goes straight to the Goodwill bins. And you know it because it doesn't have any Goodwill tags or anything on it. And that's when you actually find really good stuff. I mean, I'm talking like money in the pockets of the clothing. How often do you find money in clothing?
I mean, probably like, well, excuse me, I regularly find coins, but every few months, maybe I'll find like 10 or 20 bucks just sitting in either a jacket pocket, a jeans pocket. One time I found it in a bin. There was like a little envelope, and I knew that this little envelope, you're supposed to put money into it. It was one of those little Chinese, little red New Year's envelopes. And so I saw it and I was like, if that's in here, it ain't garbage. And I grabbed it and there was 20 bucks inside. So,
And there's where you go, there's like a lot of clothing.
Yes.
So more than you can go through in a day.
Oh, Gosh, yes.
And that's gone, and then the next day it's all new stuff again.
It's supposed to be, yes.
Okay, yeah. So, good, because I know you said you're like, oh, I might find it this or then. I seem to notice because even though I wasn't doing clothing when I was going every day, I'm the book guy or in the book guy, book people. But I'm like friends with people because I also sell shoes and I'm trying to like help whatever, you know what I mean? But I seem to see like almost every day someone would find some money in some clothing. You know what I mean? It's just got me thinking like there's just how much money is just sitting in the landfill, like in people's jean pockets.
There are people who go to the bins solely to look for money. They don't even
because that's a zero cost. That's a zero cost game.
Yes. So you'll see them like in the accessory bins because ours sort out the accessories like handbags, wallets from clothing.
Right.
So they will just like very detailed go through all of the wallets and purses.
Unzip everything.
They unzip everything. Yeah. And I'm sure that they find money in there.
And it's so crazy. There's like a weird economy about it that like a lot of the stuff gets sold at flea markets and stuff. So there's a lot of cash-based economy around it. So there is definitely a lot of illegal immigrant stuff going on or whatever. But there's also, because like we just said, there's like these zero cash entry businesses. There's people like, and usually it's going to be like people who are like down on their luck or drug addicts or whatever, but they know that they can go there and like go in when everyone else goes in and grab that leather jacket that they find and then go find an alley and say, hey, I found a leather jacket. I'll sell it to you for $20. And they're literally selling something they haven't even bought yet.
Yes.
They're selling their rights to purchase this item to you for $20. And then you go buy it for 50 cents by the pound. So your now cost is $20 plus, $5, 50 cent pound leather jacket. Right. And then you sell it for $100 or whatever. But that's just real.
Yeah, because not everybody sells the same thing, right? It's like you maybe your specialty is vintage, or maybe your specialty is women's clothing, or your specialty is books. And so if you find something that some other regular who's there that they sell and they would love to have, you can take it over to them and you can flip it right there.
Yeah, it's insane. Or like when you find that you see those shoes and you grab it and you can only grab one and then you give that other reseller like the meanest look, like I'm never letting this shoe go. Trust me, bro, you're leaving before I am, so just give me the shoe right now. And they'll just be like, all right, here you go. Like you just give them that look, like after you grab the one that you got, you're like, bro, all right, here you go. And then you kind of have like you work back and forth with them, you find out.
Yeah, that's true. Like, you do develop relationships with people, right? So that people will trade you for stuff, that if they have the shoe you need, you can give them other stuff. Because
everyone has different models. You know what I mean? Like you might have worthless to you type stuff, but they have an outlet like a garage sale that they regularly do, or a flea market where those things that are worthless to you, they're worth 10 cents a piece to them because they can sell them for $1 or $2 each at their yard sale or whatever.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, immigrants who are at the bins too. So a lot of times they're grabbing stuff and they're not necessarily looking for brand names. They're just maybe grabbing a specific item to sell.
Or just grabbing everything.
Well, there's also that. They're also just grabbing everything. And so, that's just another great person to maybe interact with, because they'll give you stuff or they'll trade you stuff, or even just go stand near them when they're throwing items back. Because
then also like a lot of people, they're like you're saying, you get to know them, you know what they want or whatever. They know what you want, and they might know that, hey, like I could make $20 on that or $50, but they would rather just sell it to you for $10 right there, because that $10 pays for everything they're going to buy that day.
It's true.
And that's actually huge to think about. The business mentality of that is they're running their own business, and then they just acquired inventory for their business for that day at zero cost. They subsidize their inventory by selling you something.
By items they sold while they were there. Yeah.
Which is actually smarter than trying to, carry that. You know what I mean? They just now made their carrying cost and risk zero.
Right. All they've lost for the day is time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing. Like that's kind of why I think it goes back to like reselling and the bins and just taking this one man's trash as another man's treasure, is because we live in a land of abundance where people literally just throws like I'll buy something on Amazon for like $6 or whatever, and it shows up and it sucks and it's not what I want, and I'll just throw it away. Like I'm not gonna like print a return label and it's $6. Like, you know, when you go in America, you buy a thing from Ross and you get home and it's just not right. You just throw it away. You're not gonna like how much it has to be like not even if it's $10. Like I'm not gonna make a trip to Ross just for $10.
No, and oftentimes we see a lot of those items at the bins. I mean, I see products that are very, you know, I order tons of items from Amazon, so I know what an Amazon package looks like. You know, it comes in some sort of clear plastic maybe, and then it's got that little Amazon barcode or whatever on it. I oftentimes see items that it's like, somebody probably bought this and then was like, oh yeah, it's not exactly what I wanted, and then boom, it's at the outlet, you know?
Right. Yeah. It's insane. We just so wasteful.
Yes, or clothing items that it's like you can look at the tag and it'll show the season on the where it'll show like the style number, and it'll say, you know, this was from December of 2018 and you know it's January 2019 and you're like, this just came out and somebody's already cycled through it.
Right. It's wild. The wastefulness is out of control. So being in the clothing business, have you ever heard of rag mills or textile mills? Have you heard of this?
Yes. Yeah, I know that some of those like donation bins that you see in what's it called, like the parking lots of like grocery stores, you know, that where it says like donate your clothes here. A lot of times those get sent off to rag companies, which I always tell people, I'm like, if you have nice clothing, do not put them in those bins because it is going to be sent to these rag mills. You're better off sending it to a Goodwill or a Savers, Value Village, Salvation Army, a women's shelter,
church that has a yard sale.
Yes, any other situation.
So I have an interview that I did with my aunt that I never put out. It's like 40 minutes. And we're just sitting outside and we're talking about it. She's a reseller. I'm a second generation reseller. So
that's awesome.
When I was a kid, I just wish I had new clothes, and I never had new clothes because we were poor. And she would drag me around to thrift stores with her while she was buying stuff, and I would get, you know, some used clothes too. And I just hated it. I hated going to thrift stores. And so funny that's my life. And she ended up getting into the business and owning a thrift store in a nice part of town for like over 10 years, a vintage clothing store. And so she would tell me, and her whole thing was, besides, you know, just regular thrifting, she would regularly go down to LA and go to the fashion district. And then I guess there's like tons of these rag mills and textile. And she was just telling me, she's like,
wow,
you don't like sadness in her voice. Like, she's like, Michael, you don't understand. She's like, piles and piles and piles, and is like, you know, it could be a Target thing, or it could be like a beautiful Victorian dress that like, you know, maybe it's perfect. It's worth like $300, $400, $500. Maybe it has a rip in it, but like you could cut it and turn it into a skirt. And like, that's the type of stuff my aunt does. You know, she'll take an antique table and freak it out. And now it's, you know, now it's a $400 table, or this dress, and make it into a skirt, or, you know what I mean? But it was just, it's insane to think about the wastefulness, the amount of, you know, they're literally just shredding them up and turning them into rags to send to third world countries. Why it's called a rag mill, but it's like, you know, they're $20 bills, $30 bills, $100 bills, $300 bills. And it's just like, there's not enough people in America to go through. That's why I kind of laugh when people are like, talk about like competition in the reselling biz. I'm like, man, there is so much stuff. You might have to do it a certain way. Like, you know, if you get too good at one thing in one place, you might have to try a different thing, or a couple different things, or go a couple different places. So like, the only people that I feel really get at a loss are the one trick ponies. But like, as long as you stay diverse and you're willing to work, we're throwing away more stuff. We're throwing away more stuff than we're selling.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, even at our Goodwill outlet, I've seen
more valuable stuff. I don't mean junk. I mean the potential resale value of the stuff that's going to rag mills and going to landfills and is not getting picked up by resellers at Goodwill outlets far exceeds the amount that's actually being realized.
Yeah, totally. Well, and you know, a lot of times people say, oh, well, you know, it's getting sent to third world countries, right? Some of it's getting boxed up and sent to other countries. But then it's like, well, then you have to think, yeah, okay, we're sending our Target and Massimo to some third world country. You've got people walking around in this cheap clothing, and now you're putting local seamstresses out of business in those countries.
Right.
It's not really helping anyone.
Yeah, it's the same type of thing where you see this company, what is it called? Like Books to Africa or whatever. And it's like they get a lot of books because they say, oh, here's our thing. We donate books to Africa and or whatever. But like the reality is there's just like these towns where they take the books and there's just like, big pile of books getting rained on and people are trying to burn them or do, you know what I mean? It's like they don't, they're not necessarily being used in the way you think it's being used when you deal with these companies that donate to these organizations or different, handlers and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, man, I'm so fed up with that type of stuff. I'm like, I'm just going to go somewhere and build a church or a schoolhouse or whatever. That's like the only way you actually did some shit. You know what I mean? But like to think that, every supporting, like, no, it's not exactly how you think ever.
No,
ever.
It isn't. Yeah, the perception of it. And yet at the same time, we get accused of being scammers or it's not a real job or.
Right. No, I knew this woman. She is such a hustler, a Filipino woman. She sells at the flea markets. She'll sell in the bins, out the bins. She buys stuff. She has a saying. She says, if I can make 1 penny, I'll buy. And she said, I make 1 penny, I buy. And I'm like, damn. And I was like, if too many of you people figure this shit out, like you will make 1 penny buy hustlers, you're gonna fuck the Americans up because we're not gonna work for 1 penny. You know what I mean? Like, and I just love to see people's work ethic. It's insane. They're like, I'm like, where are you sending this shit? And like, find out they got regular hustle of packing shipping crates on their own property and then getting them shipped out to the Philippines. And they're shipping out like 1 every month, 1 every 2 months. And then they have, basically a thrift store in the Philippines where their family, that's a whole business in the Philippines and their family's eating and living off of it good. And they go out there to collect their money, you know what I mean? And then leave it, in Filipino banks. Like, people are smart, man, but it's like, it's just crazy the hustle that could be going on, like.
Yeah, that's what I've heard actually. A lot of the folks, a lot of the immigrants who are at the Goodwill outlet is that they are sending it back to their home
that's all we're really doing, right? Is we're taking shit, quote unquote shit, from one place and putting it somewhere else where it looks less shitty.
Yeah.
Right? Or it's like, for some reason, when I was a kid, my neighbors didn't want to eat the fruit hanging on the tree in their house or their own. So I would hop the fence and pick all their fruit and then go and sell it back to them, or to the neighbors next door. And then they wanted to eat it. You know what I mean? But you have to, you got to take it from someplace where it's, not valued.
Yes.
Then present it somewhere where it is. I mean, there's so many. I have a friend that does electronics to Africa. And like, I see the stuff he's buying and it's like half broken Walkmans, half busted AM/FM thing, old flip phones. And I'm like, dude, what are you going to do with that? And he's like, bro, in America, this flip phone is completely worthless. Yeah. But in Africa, it's worth, yada, yada, because it has a calculator, because it has Snake on it, because it can keep alarms. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
Because it has shitty little picture ability, like whatever, like stuff you would never think of, what broken Walkman. There's like, oh, they want little electronic motors, or bike with 1 wheel, they'll cut it up and put it on another bike. You know what I mean? So it's just what can you get for super cheap, pack it up and put it in front of someone who wants it.
The right buying audience. Yep. And we do it on our own scale.
Yep. On the internet, one person can take one piece of shit and put that in front of many people who might not think it's so shitty.
Yeah, exactly. Give it a wash in the laundry, take a little bit of the bins out of it.
We're at the bins with someone who's like your friend, your mom, whoever, you took them there. They're too scared to go in there. They're looking at the shit and it's too smelly, it's too dirty, it's too grimy, but yet we're savage enough to go in that, grab it, bring it out, do what we got to do to make it appear less shitty and put it in front of the right person who's willing to actually fork over $20 or $30 or $50 of their hard-earned cash for it. When as some people, they're not even willing to fork over dealing with the shitty smell or the fact that you might cut your hand open or whatever it is, it's.
And in the same breath, like when I took my mom, despite her not liking it, her product knowledge was actually really great. She was still like digging in the bins and everything. And she found stuff that at the time, brands I wasn't familiar with that were profitable to sell. And it's like, people don't realize it's like, it might not be cute there. I'm not saying I love it there. It's not my fit.
Right.
It's not a spa, but she was picking out, tops
later.
that resold.
You can go to the spa
yeah, exactly. Later. She was picking out tops that sold for $40.
Just don't tell the people at the bins that you made enough money while you were there to afford going.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. You never want to
wear your shitty clothes and drive your shitty car, please.
Right. It's true. Yeah. Because what you take home, you don't want to.
Don't be that dork that starts making money at the bins and shows up in a Mercedes. Don't be that guy.
Yeah, you won't fit in very well. So
yeah, that's true. And everybody probably doesn't even know the average American is a damn walking brand, encyclopedia, about anything. Like that comment that you just made me think about it. I was like, damn, every person, average American person knows about all kinds of products and brands. Cause I know when I started, I did what I knew, electronics and video games.
Yeah.
I'm not into clothing, but I'm like, man. And I'm thinking right now, is like my mom, who is arguably batshit crazy, probably knows so much about brands. Like she worked in the cosmetic industry and was like in the fashion thing and everything for like 30 years. Like, man, she definitely knows. Like, I know, she would see some like perfume and be like, Mikey, get that. That's, that's rare, whatever, exactly. And it's like, I'm just like, whatever. It's a half empty bottle of perfume. Like I wouldn't pay a quarter for it. And she like recognizes it and you look it up. It's like $180.
Yeah. And that's just the beauty of this job, is just that the product knowledge is endless. You will never know all of the brands. There's always new items to be learning, new categories. It's amazing. And the bins, like I said, it's a great place to experiment and not have a huge loss.
Right. Yeah. No, there's an endless amount of stuff you can learn that like what's worth. Like I tell people, like, learn how to look up eBay comps. And if that's not fun for you, you might not ever be a reseller. Like,
oh yeah, it's not your thing.
It has to be fun for you because it's like, it's so weirdly like I'm like looking at stuff that's worth money that I don't even know how I got to looking at this thing. Like, how did I ever figure out that used toilet paper tubes sold in bulk is worth money?
Or
like pine cones by the pound are worth money, or like just like all of these like I once went on I made a post about like things that are free that you could sell. Like literally, if you see a tumbleweed, grab that motherfucker. Tumbleweeds go for big money on eBay because but think about it. If you need a tumbleweed for a real tumbleweed for a photo shoot or for a movie or something, where are you going to get it?
It's
true. Where are you going to get it?
eBay.
People aren't just, at least I don't think that there's an industry of people, horticulture, and they're just growing tumbleweeds, waiting for them to die and dry up and blow off the stem so that they can box them up. I don't think that industry exists yet. Or fake, I don't think maybe fake tumbleweeds is a thing. That's a good private label product. But like it's insane the amount of things that you could sell. Like I live by the beach. I could probably go get driftwood off the beach. It might not be legal or illegal or whatever because it's a state thing, but you know what I mean? It's worth like true. For sure. Like I see, a big enough piece, like, some rich guy probably got it like polished up in his living room as a coffee table, and it's like a freaking $900 coffee table.
Yeah, no, I know, because my friend Ty, Lux Huntress, she was looking up comps once on driftwood, and it's really good because she lives up on an island, and that's plentiful,
right?
Where everywhere around the island.
And that's actually very important. It's all about what is plentiful around you. And it's funny because my thing is books, and I tell people, I'm like books, whatever, but might not work for you because you might live in an area that has like a low literacy rate and not a lot of colleges, and it's a lower income rate. So there's just not a lot of books, but Henry Ford tractor factory is over there and they employ 20,000 people. So every time you go garage selling, you find brand new old stock Henry Ford tractor parts.
Right.
Or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, know what you got, right?
Yep. Know what you got. And like you said too, is just like, you have to like this job. You can't not, you have to enjoy digging through garbage in some way. You have to like doing comp research. You have to like always be learning, never being, you can't ever be, you can't ever be satisfied because you won't know all the things to sell.
Yeah, no, never.
No.
Every time I go hunting, I learn something new.
Yes.
Or every time I do research, I learn something new.
Yes.
It's endless, and it's super It's super wild too, especially what's really wild is when you learn stuff. When you learn stuff, it's wild, kids. But then when you're in the wild, and a lot of book stuff is like, I don't really know it. We just scan it. You know what I mean? So it doesn't make you feel cool. But when you're in the wild and you see something and it's not obvious, it's not like, that shoe brand that everybody knows you should grab, like Tory Burch or whatever. It's not like that, it's like something else. And you see it, like an example I've been using a lot lately is like, oh, how much are these pins? Pins, 25 cents for the pins. And you grab this gold executive office pin, and know you can sell it for like $60 or $100 because it's a gold plated pin.
Right.
Like, it looks like gold. Is it real? I don't know, but the brand and this pen, this company doesn't make pens that are less than $100.
Right.
Just because that brand, because you saw it on some comp research, or you saw it on someone's YouTube video, or you were talking about, or Lux sold it recently, or something, like maybe you sold a different pen recently, and when you were researching that one, you learned about those brands,
that happens all the time. Yes.
And it's this, you hear the brand name and you're like, this part of your brain cells activated, and then you go and look it up and you're like, damn, like.
Yeah. So the best part about the job.
It's so wild. I love it. I still love it when you get excited. Like, recently randomly got excited. I have a bunch of stuff from my old move, stuff that I saved because I wanted to sell it on eBay. It's everything that I decided we shouldn't throw away because it's worth at least whatever, $15. Right. So I boxed everything all up and I'm going to sell it on eBay. 2 years go by. I still haven't even opened these boxes. And so I just reach out to local resellers that I know. And I'm like, hey, I have these boxes. Like, I'll give it to you. You go through it, find what you want to sell, list it, and split it with me.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll just work it like that. And then you can give me back what you don't want to sell or whatever. And it worked out really great. And then she hits me back. She's like, man, this scarf sold for like $76. And I'm like, what scarf sold for $76? I'm all like, I feel like I lost money, and I go and look it up. It was a vintage scarf that was from my wife's personal collection that she got at the bins for like 50 cents a pound.
Okay.
And it was like a really long scarf, about 8 inches wide, with piano keys along the whole thing.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
But it was like, it happened to be, vintage from like the early 80s from some specific designer in Los Angeles or whatever, which you would never know. My wife was just like, that's a cool scarf. You know what I mean? But like, it's endless. Like I feel like how long have I been in this game? And I'm like, that fucking thing sold for $76.
I know.
Like, my wife wore it for how long before we stuffed it in a box? And there's no way she would have been wearing it, because at the time when we acquired that, we could have really used $76. You know what I mean? So I'm like,
well, did you know?
Just think about, you know what I mean? It's just so random. You'll be at like your friend's house, like washing your hands, and you'll be like, that soap dish is fucking real silver.
Right.
Like, why do they have a real silver soap dish right here? You know what I mean? Or just
you
like
start
random,
running comps on your
like do you know you have like $500 worth of knickknacks right here? Like, and they're talking about how they're broke too. They're always talking about how they're broke, and you're just sitting in their house like, if I could sell the shit that you have.
Just liquidate your assets. That's what I always tell people. I'm like, hey, if you need money, just start selling all the crap in your house.
Just sell it.
Yeah. Awesome. You never know. Or go to your friends or family. I mean, eventually one of these days, my parents kept so many items for my youth, and, we're both children of the 80s and 90s.
Right. So it's cool shit.
Oh yeah. We've got tons of cool shit like up in their attic. And one of these days I'm just going to go up there and I know we've got Teddy Ruxpin. We've got some cool old, like lunch pails, like the tin ones, that you used to put like a thermos in. We've got one that's like ET. Yeah, there's all sorts of good stuff. So I don't know, one of these days, once I get through a clothing pile, I guess.
So we got to wrap it up. We actually went on for a super long time. We got a couple super chats I didn't get a chance to shout out. So I do drink beer.
I mean, went around it.
Okay. You can be influenced. So next time I see you, I owe you a beer. These monies are dedicated to beers with show guests. So shout out to New England Betty Boop for the $3 super chat. Of course, shout out to the lovely Lux Huntress for the $5 super chat. She says for the homies. So it definitely will be. And then there was another one that I missed that was a little earlier.
Somebody awesome.
Maybe I'm sure super duper
somebody
awesome.
super awesome.
But I'm super glad that we got to connect and I got to meet you and get to know you. Because I honestly feel like we could talk for like hours. So like I'm going to put you on the list to do some more.
I would love that.
Some more stuff with you because I feel like a good vibe and we had a good time and I learned some stuff and hopefully the viewers learn some stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, if they want a more in-depth view on hiring somebody, I've got a video on it on my YouTube channel, so check that out. But I'll check the comments also, and I'll follow up if anybody has questions on your page. So
awesome. Definitely go subscribe to Denali. I'm still want to say it the other way. I have to think in my head. Denali from the Valley in Cali, even though you're not. But anyways, go check out Denali's YouTube channel and Instagram. Go down there, subscribe, and don't just be a lurker. Message, DM, if you need some help, if you have certain type of content you would need. We as content creators love it when people give us ideas for stuff to make because you're literally doing our job. So like that's awesome. But go show some love to anybody that shows our show some love because we really appreciate the last 2 hours. I haven't done a 2-hour show for a long time. I made a point to do 1-hour shows. But this show just flowed super well. Even though we probably didn't even talk about VAs too much. Just
we touched on it. We had a good time.
That's what matters. No. Yeah, great time. Awesome. But I appreciate you so much. We have a saying that we say around here. Do you know how it goes?
I do.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate having you guys here. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe, like the button. Remember, if you're not flipping,
you slipping.
If you're not flipping, I don't even know my own saying. If you ain't flipping, you slipping. Remember your own catchphrase. It's very important, guys. I'll see you. Yeah, these are important things. I'll see you next Monday live, 6 Pacific Standard Time. And if you prefer to listen, check the podcast out. The episodes are now scheduled. They post every Monday morning at 4 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That would be 7 a.m. East Coast time. So it's kind of like get your Monday vibes going, listen to a new episode of the podcast kind of thing. And if you could leave us a review on the podcast, I would really appreciate that. And in upcoming Reezy news, tomorrow my play button comes. So I'm going to start building the video to announce the giveaway, the gifts for the giveaway, how you can enter the giveaway, because we're giving away over $60,000 worth of stuff to celebrate my 100K YouTube accomplishment. And I'm probably going to throw like a local party next month. So if you can come out to that, that would be cool. Not necessarily you, I'm talking like to the viewers, but might like rent a beach house and just have a big party or something for the weekend. But as always, guys, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Go check out everybody's channel in the whole world. Check out all of their channels. Thanks for joining us, and thank you for your time, Denali.
Thank you so much for having me.
See ya.